I'll tell you that the building itself, guys, is in 4 points, and they represent 4 of the main White Star Line ships, and they're exactly the same height as the bows of those ships: the Britannic, the Oceanic, the Olympic, and the Titanic. This is the old drawing rooms. This is where Thomas Andrews drew up the blueprints for Titanic. Over on our right is the new indoor skydiving place. And then, anybody watch the Game of Thrones? Yeah. Well, this is Titanic Studios on your left. This is where the actual Game of Thrones is, the throne itself. On the right, they built a £1 million set. Have a look quickly over, and you'll see that they burnt it down. And that's all I can say about that. That was King's Landing, by the way. So every building, every new building that's built in this area has to have a nautical theme. You'll see the White Star House, obviously named after White Star. There's another building here, has a crow's nest built onto it. Okay, so everything has to have some sort of a nautical theme.
Oh, the cast on the green screen.
So we're coming into the HMS Caroline. HMS Caroline being the last remaining World War I vessel in the world. It was completely restored recently to a tune of £26 million. Absolutely fantastic tour, guys, if you get a chance. They have a big interactive screen in there, and this ship actually fought in the Battle of Jutland. It was the fastest ship of its time because it was the first ship to have a turbine engine. Brilliant tour, guys. You get down in to see the engine, and you hear how noisy the engine was and stuff. And the interactive screen, guys, you think you're sitting in the Battle of Jutland with bombs going off around you. It's very good. Okay, a lot of other interesting things, guys, are planned for this area. Over the next sort of maybe 15-20 years, there's a lot of exciting things going to happen, okay? There's supposed to be a big... what's the name of those things with roller coasters and all that sort of stuff? Theme park. Yeah. So I know that down on the north coast where Castle Black is from the Dark Ages, I know that a Chinese guy has taken or bought over that site. He's already started redeveloping it, and it's going to be a Game of Thrones theme park. So I'm sure that will probably be pretty busy.
For this next part, I'm going to do some voiceover because a lot of the photos and videos that I got from inside the Titanic were not of the greatest quality. It was kind of crowded, and it was dark in a lot of places, but it was obviously for the effective things that were lit up. But moving right along, this first picture that I've been talking over is our ticket to get in. Normally they would put your date of visit on it, but we were in a big group that included most if not all rather, of the German students, and then all of the American students. So they just kind of tried to get us through the ticketing process as quickly as possible. The next picture is actually called a slipway, and there are, from what I understood at least, there are a couple of these. I did not go outside because it was raining, it was windy, it was cold, and I was still wearing the same jacket that I was wearing at Giant's Causeway, which had a broken zipper. Later on, when we went to Trinity College, I finally bought another hoodie, and that just changed my life. I still have that hoodie, and I've worn it this whole winter. It's a really good hoodie. But anyway, so the slipway has a lot of symbolism. There's also a little plaza outside, and on that plaza there are some benches that are arranged in Morse code, and it is the distress signal that the Titanic sent out when it hit the iceberg. There are also some benches on the actual slipway itself. The rods represent basically the shell of well, there's one that is the promenade deck, and there's one that is the main deck. And on the main deck one, the rods are the shells, then they have all these benches set out in the way that they would have been on the deck, and you can see the outline on the ground of where the lifeboats were. But again, I did not go out there because I was lame and it was cold. The next picture is a full-scale model of the Titanic that they had. It was very detailed, and I thought it was really interesting to look at. Beyond that, we're moving into where they had set up a tour or a staging of the different cabins in the ship. So first up was the first class cabin, and you can see that it was a pretty big area. They had a lot of room to sit, and they had, much nicer beds. They had lots of storage space, lots of floor space. And there's a decided difference between that and the second class cabin, which is this one. And the second class cabin was a little bit more basic, but they still had, storage space. And compared to the third class cabin, which is coming up in just a second, the third class cabin, they were all squeezed in like sardines. Right behind the bunk bed is the wall, and right next to the sink is the other wall, and that was it. They were just crammed in there. After that, we moved into this exhibit and you can see how crowded the place was in this particular video. I had to sort of wait my turn for people to rotate out the one side so I could rotate in the other. But this was where you could step into a little, I guess you could call it an alcove, and stand between three walls that would give you a tour of the different decks. And I thought the grand staircase was just really amazing. It was actually like visually stunning. The next pictures are of some messages that they had on the walls. There was actually a place where you could walk through, and there were all these different plaques that had the exchange between the Titanic and other ships that were trying to come rescue them. And so I just included a couple. I took several pictures of these, but I just included where they called out for help and their last messages. So that's what these two are. After I took this picture, I was finally on the right side of the bus, or rather the correct side of the bus. I was on the left side of the bus. I was finally on the correct side of the bus to take a picture of Samson and Goliath. And Samson is the bigger one, Goliath is the smaller one. There's not a whole lot of difference when you're looking at them from the ground, but when you look at them level, one of them is several meters taller than the other. But at any rate, after we did the Titanic Museum, that was the end of the day in Belfast, and we headed out. The bus took us to Enniskillen, which is basically on the other side of Northern Ireland, but that's up next.